Now let's implement the useState as custom hook. So we will use the app.tsx as our testing file, and then we will create our own useState. We will use the same logic, but instead of importing it from the React, we will import it from our own file. Now remove this one also, and this is also unnecessary logic. We will see our output here, value of the count. So now let's create one file in the hook folders. src hook create one file index.js. Yes, very simple. Now this is where we will write our custom hook logic, useState logic. So give a name function create useState. Declare current state of the useState. You must know about that. This is the current state count. This is the current state of your useState. State. Declare it. Now create one function inside that useState. useState will receive initial value. Yes. So now initialize the state with the, if state is undefined, let's check first if state is undefined. In that case, give initial value as first value, and then if it is not undefined, if we have already something in the state, in that case state is going to save. So inside the useState function, define a function setState. setState. So on the setState we get the new value. Now you check in the setState we send the value directly, or we also send the functions like that. We have setState, this generally set count here. We send the some callback like pre or something like that, pre plus 1. So we also send a function or callback. So we will check here in our custom hook if the new value is a function. If this it's a function, it's a function. If it is a function, in that case it's called the new value. It's a function, we will call it with the current state. We have the state. If it is not a function, we will just keep it as a new value, because your function, if it is a function, that will give you a value also, right? Otherwise it will be your new value, because if you see the callback in the screen here, that callback itself is returning your previous plus 1. It is also returning a value. You will get the value here ultimately, right? Here, otherwise if it is a value, it is a value. That's it. Now now here just return your, in the useState, when we are calling a useState, then we are destructuring here, as you can see, with some values, count and setState. You can return your values using array destructure, same state like a state and the setState. Now here just return your useState. So this is your useState hook. Now let's use the create useState custom hook. So we will use app.tsx as our testing file. So now let's import it. Create custom hook. So now let's use it here in the component. We will use it like regular hooks. So we are destructuring as a state and setState. So we will pass 0 as initial value, and okay, before that we need to get the function itself. Actually it is, let's get the function first, useState. we will give it some other name. We will make it custom use state. So as you can see, when I'm calling this function is returning me another function like a, yes. Now here we will use this function. It's like a closure generally, if you can observe carefully. Function returning another function instance. So I'm using this function create use custom hook and passing it as initial value. And so this is how we can import our custom hook, custom use state hook. So we want to use it in our real component, that is our app component. So there is one very important thing you must know before we move ahead. Your hooks from React, they are deeply integrated in the React rendering mechanism. The render method works or sync with the hooks which are implemented in the React. But here we implemented our own custom hook which doesn't have any rendering mechanism here. We can write our custom hook here, but we need some rendering mechanism here so that we can see the output of our custom hook, so that it will work like a use state hook from the React. So we need a rendering mechanism inside our custom hook so that we can see how it is working or not. Like React real hooks has this mechanism, otherwise it will not work. We cannot use this hook in our production applications and all. For the understanding purpose, for understanding the mechanism of the real user state, we can design such hooks. Because it doesn't have rendering mechanism, it is for educational learning purpose. Because real hooks in the React has a lot of optimization techniques, logics, and rendering mechanism. That is very important. That is what you see on the browser or in the screen as output, because it has rendering mechanism. But this custom hook doesn't have rendering mechanism. So what we can do, we can make a small solution for that so that we can test our custom hook whether it is working or not. So what we can do, let's remove this one which is not required at all now. This also. So what we can do, we will create a use effect. We will try to introduce a custom rendering logic in our use state. So this is our callback. Here we will write our array. So inside that we will write in the custom use state hook, we will write a function or a listener generally that will listen the change in the state, in the current state, so that we can get the change here and so that we can render it here with the real use state hook. We will use this use state hook from the React for the force rendering only, just for the force rendering. Now let's import it here. We will not use any current state, we will use just force rendering, force update generally from the use state, real use state. That is what we need. So inside the use effect function, let's write a function unsubscribe that will listen the subscribe function. It's a listener which will receive a callback here. Inside the callback, we will use the force update. It will use a previous value. We want to increase the count and previous value plus 1. Here just write a return logic. So this is cleanup logic here in the use effect, unmounting logic generally. So here we can just call our unsubscribe function. So this is how you can remove it from the, and pass the subscribe as you can take now destructured subscribe from here. We will implement the subscribe logic there also. We will use it whenever the subscribe any state changes. We will detect it here immediately, and we will use this force update. It's a custom hook that is now syncing with the rendering mechanism of the use state that is provided by the React itself. So here